Angry guy here. And today we're discussing why are women shocked men no longer respect them? Why are women shocked that men no longer respect them? That is the topic we are discussing today. It's pretty interesting, but men are beginning to see through the games, they're beginning to see through the nonsense, and this is why men are walking away. Or if they do participate, it's basically recreational use only. Let's go ahead and just jump into the first video.
When y'all go out together, who pays?
Him.
Is there ever a time where you pay?
Yes, but he give me the money back.
Yeah, like if I don't have cash, I'm just like pay and I'll give it back. But to be honest, like if you can't pay, you shouldn't have hoes, bro. To be honest,
So it's a man's job to like provide for the girl and everything?
100%.
So if he's gonna provide for you and protect you, what do you bring to him?
Me?
Just you.
Yeah. I don't know.
Would you take him if he was broke?
Maybe.
Why is it a maybe and not like a surefire?
I feel like she probably would, but it wouldn't last. Like if I was broke, we're in Miami. There's 100 rich niggas out here would pay for a girl, so it's like.
You see, I mean, guys, men are waking up. They're realizing that, you know what? This isn't working anymore. I'm not going to participate. Or if I do, it's all about the money. Guys now have their heads screwed on a lot better. They see the games, they see the BS, they see the nonsense, and they realize it's recreational use only. That's the relationship in Western society. This guy basically said if you're gonna have 304s, you need to have money. And she was standing right next to him. And she didn't even blink. She didn't flinch because she knows what her role is. She knows why she's there. All right. He asked, would you be with him if he didn't have money? And she hesitated. That's the relationship that is today. Guys, don't forget what happened with Brickgate. For those of you that know what Brickgate are, there was the Somalian woman in Texas who claimed that she got into an argument with a guy who had a brick, and the guy used the brick on her, and then she ended up with a swelling, and that was all fabricated. It was complete lies. It never actually happened. And she used the event to collect over $40,000 in donations from Black women, predominantly Black women, who she scammed. And she's been running these scams for years. Okay. And she dragged Black men through the mud. And then when it came out that, this actually didn't happen, the same women that were, putting her on a pedestal were like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is the kind of thing that women are facing regardless, and we need protection. And guys, it's absolutely sad. It's miserable. It's disgusting. But that's the reality of things. We have another video, and we're going to jump into that.
If Malcolm X was alive today, he would be so ashamed of you.
So let me get this straight. A Black woman gets hit in the face with a brick for rejecting a man, while a bunch of other men are standing around watching. And y'all are trying to villainize her. Is it crack?
And he was talking all that trash about Black women all over the social media. We ain't gonna do shit. We ain't marching with you. We not protesting for you. We not doing shit. Handle it yourself.
All day yesterday, the men were on Twitter talking about what we supposed to do, risk our life for a stranger? Here y'all go making it about all men. If one bad man enacts violence upon a woman and 49 other men stand around watching, then we now have 50 bad men in the room. So in that scenario, yes, it's all of you.
So guys, I want y'all to see what their current logic is. If you walk away, if you don't help women, you are now a bad man. All right. So basically what they're doing is they're calling men walking away bad men. They're calling men who opt out of relationships and dating bad men. They're calling men who don't give their money to women bad men. They're calling the passport bros bad men. Because They're walking away from Western society, Western women. They're choosing not to have relationships, date, and marry. They're opting out. And what do you hear? And what does she say? If you have one man who does something to a woman and 49 men stand around doing nothing, now you have 50 bad men because they're now all guilty. Think about the terrible logic that is. So what does this mean? They wonder why men will no longer help them, run to their aid, and they think that by shaming and by saying things like this is going to get men to participate and to come and to help them again after M2 and everything that's happened. They think that this is the way forward. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely sickening. It's sad. But that's the state of affairs in Western society today. And women have nothing. They don't know how to attract a man using honey. They only know how to shame men, attack men, and put down men because of the things that they're not getting from them. And that's all there is to it right now. And then they wonder why men no longer respect them. They wonder why men no longer trust them. And after this came out that it was all a big hoax, you had them on social media, Black women refusing to forget about apologizing. They began doubling down and saying, regardless if it's true or not, it doesn't change the fact that women are suffering and struggling. And these types of things happen to women each and every single day. And we need social change. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I've said this already. I've said it once and I'll say it again. This is why these passport bros, these women will not be able to have access to these men anymore. These are men with money. These are men with education. These are men with self-respect, decency. These are men that are built to be fathers, built to be providers and protectors, not like the Chad and the Tyrone and the Ray Ray and the Pookie and the Quan and the Enriquez, not like these dudes, all right? And these women, they don't understand. There was already a pandemic of fatherlessness in the Black community, for example, and now these men are picking up and taking off, and they don't realize that they're gone. They're not coming back. And what are they doing? How are they shaming? They're like, all of these men are now bad men. If you don't give us what we want, you're a bad man. You're just as bad as the person who did it. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. Let's continue watching some of this video.
Ever heard the story of the boy who cried wolf? The moral of this age-old tale is clear. Trust, once violated, can have serious consequences. Welcome to Manosphere Highlights Daily. By now, everybody and their mama knows the story of the woman who cried brick.
I think the brick all these black men just lost. And this man hit me. She's and he hit me like.
We decided to wait to do our due diligence before coming out with a video because we didn't want to make a video just for clicks. The situation just seemed off from the start, and we just knew that the truth would come to light soon.
Nobody is questioning the fact that this woman deleted her TikTok, privatized her Instagram, hasn't posted an update on her face on Instagram, but has garnered almost $50,000 in 6 days. That's a little weird to me. Nobody's questioning her, despite the fact that she did this in 2020, did it a little more subtly in 2022, and now again in 2023. Nobody's questioning it. Not a single soul. Really.
As a sociology enthusiast, what piqued my interest in creating this video presentation was the fact that she went viral with false allegations, managed to raise $40K on her GoFundMe page, and the immediate outrage from Black women who fell for the scam and subsequently shamed Black men for not protecting Black women. The videos and comments from outraged women serve as evidence that there are underlying issues or factors that prompt this immediate and strong response.
You lot are sick. Nothing that you dig up from her past and no amount of skits that you pull from her page is going to change the fact that that man could have killed her and she should have been protected. That man was a bitch, and so was every man that let it happen.
The video clip you've just seen will serve as the foundation of our presentation because it provides insight into the answers we're going to provide about why modern women don't deserve protection from men. Keyword, deserve. we delve into the topic of the law of cause and effect in this video. We're going to break it down into 4 chapters. Childhood, how women take advantage of bias. You can't protect those who don't want protection. Why men have no obligation to protect women. Now it's time for us to get into this and do what we gotta do. Because we men, ain't we? We men, ain't we?
So let me get this straight. A black woman gets hit in the face with a brick for rejecting a man, while a bunch of other men are standing around watching. And y'all are trying to villainize her. Is it crack? All day yesterday, the men were on Twitter talking about what we supposed to do, risk our life for a stranger? Here y'all go making it about all men. If one bad man enacts violence upon a woman and 49 other men stand around watching, then we now have 50 bad men in the room. So in that scenario, yes, it's all of you.
Yes, if you are a human being, at some point you were a baby. As a sociology enthusiast, one of the first lessons I've learned is that the initial education and the foundation of one's beliefs, values, and socialization begin at home during childhood. In modern society, the majority of children are raised by their mothers. In modern Western society, especially in the black community, mama has the biggest influence on the children. Yesterday, we made a video and highlighted important data about child abuse. Janice, read.
Child abuse is deadly. In 2021, an estimated 1,820 children died from abuse and neglect in the United States. Boys have a higher child fatality rate at 3.01 per 100,000 compared to girls at 2.15.
Boys are the most affected. And you can see African American child fatalities is 2.9 times greater than that of white children and 3.9 times greater than Hispanic children.
I want to tell y'all something very interesting about the United Kingdom, because some of you may not know this. So in the United Kingdom, more baby boys are born than baby girls every year. But because so many baby boys don't make it to adulthood, you end up with a surplus of women in the United Kingdom. And it's been like that for decades now. Decades. It's kind of like nature does it deliberately, because nature knows that as men, we are less taken care of. A baby boy, if something is wrong, their parents will just leave them in the crib to cry, versus a baby girl who they'll be immediately attentive to. Maybe the baby is in a position where it cannot breathe properly. You know, maybe it starts to choke and it needs someone to come and pat its back. There are a variety of reasons why these things happen. Parents are more attentive to baby girls. They will rush to a baby girl's aid while they will leave a baby boy to cry and to fend for themselves. And it's extremely clear when you see the high mortality rates. All right, especially for SID, sudden infant expiration syndrome. I switched out the word, but you know what I mean by that. And it's so much higher for baby boys than baby girls, because parents don't give the same kind of care to baby boys. But then the feminists will come and say, oh, that's not the reason why. The reason why is because baby girls have better immune systems and girls are stronger than boys from birth. Girls are stronger than boys from the moment that they're born. That's the reason why there's such a large disparity. It's not because men live harder lives than women. It's not because men receive significantly less care than women. Oh, no. It's because women are stronger. We are genetically, we are physically, we are mentally, we are physically, we are genetically stronger than the men. Genetically, but we have the same genes. Oh, but just by being a biological female, you gain that advantage over men. Guys, it's insanity. From the very moment that a girl that a baby is born, they receive privilege, and that privilege is so significant that it's basically the difference between life and no life. And it's sad and it's pathetic, but that is the reality that we are faced with, and it's something that every man has to take into consideration. And now you have these women who are basically looking at society and they're furious that men are walking away. And what do they call men walking away? You're bad men. You are criminals. This is what, guys, this is what they're doing now. That's what they're doing. You heard what this woman basically said. All right. If there's a bad man and 49 men who don't do anything, they're also bad. Now you have 50 bad men. In other words, if men refuse to protect women, give their resources to women, if men walk away and go away, and they're bad men, and they're the same as criminals. Guys, I don't know if you remember this story. All right, I gave you guys this story many years ago, but years ago, all right, many centuries ago, millennia ago, we go to Rome, and the Roman Empire. At the beginning of the Roman Empire and the greatness of the Roman Empire, the man was firmly the leader of the home, and he had control over the wife entirely, over both life and death. And then guess what ends up happening? Rome is extremely prosperous, but someone gets the great idea to say, hey, we should introduce no-fault divorce. Yeah, this happened thousands of years ago. They decided that no-fault divorce was a good idea. So they introduced no-fault divorce. And what ended up happening? The women began divorcing their husbands, getting into relationships with gladiators. Yeah, gladiators are slaves, all right, that are forced to fight to live. So they started getting in relationships with gladiators. And then they also began secretly offing their husbands. So then men stopped getting married. Men stopped having children. And what ended up happening? I forget if it was Julius or Augustus Caesar, but it was one of the Caesars basically said that the men who refuse to marry are worse than all of the criminals in all of Rome. All right? They are worse than the thieves. They're worse than the thieves. They're worse than the thieves. They are worse than any criminal in all of the Roman Empire. This is madness. This is absolute madness. This actually happened. The men who refused to marry were barred from going to any form of entertainment. In other words, they couldn't go to public shows, so they couldn't go to performances. Think of it as like going to the movies. They were barred from going to the movies. They were barred from going to the Coliseum, so they couldn't watch the fights. All right? So basically no wrestling matches for them. And during the winter, they basically had them in the streets. Single men were forced to run in the streets behind one another in chain gang style. Chain gang. They literally had chain gangs in the Roman Empire. And if you were a single man who refused to take a wife, you were forced to run in the cold, chain gang style. And men still refused to marry. Fast forward, like, I forget if it was like 100 or 200 years later. I think it was maybe about 100 years later. The Roman Empire no longer has a military because men have walked away from society. So men will no longer fight to protect the country, which is another reason why the draft makes no sense, because they knew back then that it didn't work. All right? And they're trying to do it now. If you try to make a man fight against their will, they're not going to do it. They're going to run away as fast as they can. So, the Roman Empire had no military left, and they were using they were using hired help. I'm trying to remember the exact term for it, but the mercenaries. So they had paid mercenaries that they were using to fight to protect the Roman Empire. And of course, keep in mind, the men had opted out of society. So the men were not working anymore, because the average Roman citizen, Rome was a very wealthy empire. It was so wealthy at the beginning of the Roman Empire that the average Roman citizen did not have to work. They would be given, you didn't have to work. All right, you would get access to drink and bread and food, so you could basically, you didn't have to work. You had a roof, you would have a roof over your head, you would always be given food, you would always be given drink. That type of society allowed women to live carelessly with no fault divorce. They basically took a hold of society, and they ran it into the ground. And the men, basically, we saw the mouse utopia occur, where the men said, yeah, F this, I'm out. They stopped marrying, they stopped reproducing, they stopped focusing, they stopped protecting society. They had to turn, the Roman Empire had to turn to mercenaries to protect the Roman Empire. But guess what? Eventually, because the men weren't working and the men were no longer creating wealth, because it's men who create wealth in society, the empire began running out of money and eventually was flat broke. Now, the empire couldn't protect itself. So what ended up happening? So they hire the mercenaries, and the mercenaries are like, hey, we need, how are you going to pay us? And the king is like, and well, I said the king, but the emperor is like, okay, well, we'll pay you in land. We'll pay you in land. So the mercenaries are like, you'll pay us in land? We work for gold and silver, bro. And the king and the emperor is like, no, we'll pay you in land. We'll give you some land. And they call the emperor's bluff. They said, this emperor has no clothes. In other words, he can't back it up. They call the emperor's bluff. They pillaged the entire Roman kingdom, and Rome fell. And when Rome fell, you have to understand, the Roman Empire spanned all over Europe. All right, at that time, like most of Europe was like the Roman Empire. So when the Roman Empire fell, after the mercenaries pillaged the Roman Empire, we entered 1,000 years of darkness. We fell into the Dark Ages. What were the Dark Ages like? Imagine living in caves and eating squirrel meat. Those were the Dark Ages. Those were the ages where everyone thought that everyone else was a witch. Okay? We also got hits like the bubonic plague. All of this happened as a result of society collapsing, as a result of men walking away. The state of affairs were quite grave. Quite grave. In fact, math and science were lost. Many of the major innovations in math and science were lost during the Dark Age. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, there was still some math and some science, because they were building things like the Sistine Chapel during that time. So there still existed something, but it wasn't what it was before. You have to understand that the Roman Empire, I forget what these things are called. I don't know if they're called aqueducts, but they literally were able to transport water from far distances away. They had running water, guys. Running water in the Roman Empire. All right? This was thousands of years ago. They had running water in the Roman Empire. Running water. And not only did they have running water, they had roads. Roads, running empire, bathrooms. Okay? If you live when the Roman Empire was at its peak, we could literally, it wasn't exactly like the modern day era, but you could definitely survive. One of the big problems they had was sanitation. They didn't understand the importance of sanitation. Outside of that, things were pretty much normal. They had universities, giant universities. It was unbelievable. It was an amazing empire. And the women destroyed it. They absolutely destroyed it, because when women are allowed to run wild in society, okay, They go and pick up every Chad and Tyrone they possibly can. Okay? And they will even take the lives of their husbands so that they can live happily ever after with Chad and Tyrone. And that's where we're at. That's where we are literally at this moment. That's where we're at. And it's it's sad and it's disgusting. And now what are women doing? They're doing what they do best. If you don't provide for them and if you don't protect them, you're a criminal. So that's the next step, really, when it comes to the passport bros, calling the passport bros criminals, because they're calling all black men who don't protect them criminals. And don't forget, these are the same women that said the passport bros were going over to other countries to do bad, to commit terrible acts and evil. That's what these women said. They said the passport bros were up to no good and they were going over to these countries to do bad, which everyone knows is not true. Because if they were actually doing these things, they would be in handcuffs. They would be in jail. I tell you.
Read.
Nationally, neglect is the most common form of abuse. 3/4, 76%, of victims are neglected, 16% are physically abused, and 10% are sexually abused, and 0.2% are sex trafficked.
Women get a pass for being terrible parents. We give you a familiar example of the neglect and disrespect that young men suffer at a young age.
What did you say when he was born?
I remember he came out with his hands balled up. Son, the son I wanted. His dad said we got $1 million baby boy.
My dad used to tell my mom I was gonna be a world champ.
I told him we won't be.
When you hear this, you have to understand that this is not even the worst part of a child's upbringing. It's neglect in various other aspects. Take a look at the titles of these articles. Many of America's black youth cannot read or do math, and that imperils us all. Black boys in crisis. They aren't.
Now, guys, do you see the reason why I keep on complaining about Gen Z? Why I go ballistic about Gen Z? This is not just a problem with black boys. This is a Gen Z thing, but it's even worse in the black community. Gen Z doesn't want to read. Gen Z doesn't read. Gen Z doesn't write. Gen Z can't do math. Gen Z can't read a map. And they don't care. Gen Z doesn't use deodorant. Gen Z doesn't bathe every day. Gen Z doesn't change their undergarments. They don't believe they have to change their underwear daily. This is serious. Guys, we are literally going backwards, all right? This is some real caveman stuff. And not even the cavemen would want to live like this. Think about this very carefully. No one wants to live in their own filth. And Gen Z is very, 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 very comfortable living like this. And why do we have this today? Why do we have this? Well, who primarily raised Gen Z? Women! We need to be very honest. Gen Z is a product, a heavy product of fatherless homes. Children being raised primarily by women. And if there was a man in the house, he was a simp. He was a simp. S-I-M-P. He was a simp. And if you have a father as a simp, that's not a father. All right? That's a toy for the mother. Men are more than money. We provide protection. We provide guidance. We repair things. We fix things. We maintain things. We respond in times of crises. Something goes wrong. We're the ones to run out there and help and immediately do something. You're in a house and the sink is clogged and there's no one else to do anything. The man grabs a wrench. He doesn't really know what the hell he's doing, but he gets under there and he starts working on it anyway. Why? Because he's the man. Car gets stuck. What does he do? He starts pushing in the snow. Why? Because he's the man. Anytime something goes wrong, suddenly the women become women and the men have to be men. The funny thing about Gen Z is that Gen Z is different because Gen Z, they'll just identify as women. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Shout out to Captain Marvel, who says, hello, angry guy, and everyone in the chat. Shout out, bro. How's it going? Guys, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All right? It's sad and it's pathetic. Sad and pathetic. Roger Spice says, angry guy, thanks for the stream. No problem, bro. I'm glad to see you guys here.
Reading or data exclusive. 75% of Black California boys don't meet state reading standards. These articles reveal a lot about their upbringing and how it affects girls differently from boys. Mothers raise their sons differently than their daughters. Check this out.
We can look at some mothers, and
I've said this years ago. I said it and I meant it. Women raise their sons to be simps. They raise their sons to be simps because fathers will tell their daughters, listen, baby, daddy was a dog when he was out there. He was trying to hump everything that walked, all right? I don't want that for you, all right? He'll tell his daughter about male nature and how men are and how men think. It's amazing how a man can have this talk with his daughter, but a woman cannot have that talk with her son. Because she would have to then admit that she did these things and that's who she is as a person. And women will never own up to the fact that they are little devils. Men will own up to who they are and their imperfections. Women will never do these things because a part of their nature is deception. And they will never admit that they are deceivers. And that they use these tactics to trap men and extract wealth and resources from men. Because another point is that if a mother reveals these things to her son, then her son's going to say, well, then that means that you might do these exact same things to my dad. Also, shout out to Zetapal. Thanks, Zetapal, for that $5 super. He says, wasn't there a movie called World War Gen Z? I think it was World War Z. But yeah, that is a good one. And Anudi says Gen Z are unfit physically and mentally. They completely are. Calvin Rogers is in the chat. Shout out to old Calvin. Good to see you, Calvin. Says hello to the chat room and salute. Good to see you, brother.
it's some, not all. The rumor is that some mothers raise their daughters and love their sons. My boy always loved his mama. 40 years of age, still went home with you. That needs to stop. Your boy is not yours. He is a future husband, a future father, and needs to be raised that way. Now, what do I mean by raised? Teach your son how to cook, to make up his own bed, to clean up his own bathtub ring because you raised your daughter. On the honor roll every marking period. Goes to church with you every Sunday, and she can cook, sew, iron, and clean. All but then we have your son. Ain't never seen an honor roll. He plays basketball all evening long. Never goes to church and can't boil a hot dog. The rumor is we have some, not all, raising their daughters and loving their sons.
Shout out to Dr. Kunjufu for this pure gold and priceless lessons. This was almost 40 years ago and it still applies. And unfortunately, its effects have persisted over time and in many ways worsened. These women turn to social media to reinforce the lessons mama instilled in them from childhood. That men ain't shit. Check this out.
Just say you scared. Just say you scared of other black men. That's what you need to do. Because black men have been getting arrested for centuries in this country. Who you think pays their bond? Who you think pays their commissary? Who you think goes and visits them every week? Is it you? Is it those weak-ass men that were standing there and did nothing? Just say you scared.
What's crazy is that the men are too scared to step in for a woman in a scenario.
Notice how they immediately go after a man's masculinity. Oh, you're scared. You're a little bee. Do you see this? These are the same women that are constantly tearing down men and saying that men need to be more feminine, right? Because they're afraid of they're afraid of a man's masculinity. Masculinity is toxic. But then when men don't help them, when men basically see something happen and they basically don't intervene. And in this case, it never actually happened. All right. But just the fact that she told us lie and women heard that this happened, they were up in arms. They were literally up in arms. But and you look at it, just look at it. They immediately start going after the men and saying that the men are weak. You're a punk, you're a little bee, you're a bad man, you're a criminal, you're as bad as the criminals who commit the crimes. Men who don't react, men who don't step in are as bad as the criminals who commit the crimes. This is the ridiculous logic of these people. And somehow they think that this is going to bring men back to their communities. I'm just like wondering, what are they thinking? But then you have to realize they're not thinking. They're just going off emotion, impulse, and downright disdain for men. I made a poll maybe a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, and I said something very interesting in that poll. I said something very, very interesting in the poll. I said every woman hates men even a little bit deep down. And it's true. Every woman has at least some disdain for a man deep down. No matter how much she loves you, no matter how much she says she loves you or cares about you, every woman has disdain, has some internalized disdain for men. And you can see it with the story of Adam and Eve. Because Eve thought that she was the main character. All right? Let's not blame the serpent. The serpent didn't do anything. And the serpent didn't actually lie to Eve. Okay? She was deceived, but she made her choice. She wanted to have the power of God. Adam didn't want to be God. Adam was more than happy with his role. The only reason why he did what he did is because he was simping. And God was furious with Adam for simping. The story of Adam and Eve is a cautionary tale of don't be a simp. What would God have done? Let's be real. If Adam hadn't messed up, and it's a story, but let's think about it from a real, let's explore this a little bit. All right? It's a story, regardless if it's true or not. We can learn things from it, because that's what a lot of these stories are designed to do, is to teach us about things. Now, God is the creator of all, and God has all the power in the world. Right? So God has all this power. He created Adam, he created Eve, he created Lilith, all right, who didn't know how to behave. Because she would rather go and give it up to demons than to do as she was told and lay properly with her husband. So she was disobedient from the very beginning. Guys, look at this comment. There's a troll in the chat, and from Crimson Lion Strove, and this person is serious. Angry guy, your videos are sexist, and you need to be thrown in jail for the words you are saying, guys. I need to be thrown in jail, guys. Perfect example. Perfect example. All right? I need to be thrown in jail for the words I'm saying, guys. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm not saying anything defamatory whatsoever. All I'm talking about is how men are treated in society, how women treat men, and female nature, how women behave in society. I'm not shaming or attacking, but just because I'm red-pilling men, I need to be thrown in jail. Look at what this woman said. This is the perspective of women and simps, because they want to silence you. They want you to be quiet. They want to attack. They don't want others to hear. They want to keep people ignorant. I need to be thrown in jail for these words. And then this person follows it up by saying, God is a woman. You are indoctrinating people into sexist behavior. Apologize, you sexist. Angry guy, you are a sexist and need to be put in jail for your hate to women. Guys, look at this. 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 Look at this sickening stuff. You are sexist. You are a sexist and indoctrinating with sexist and false things. How is it a sexist? I'm not saying anything sexist. I think that women are highly capable. I think women can go out there, work, make their own money, get college degrees, be doctors, lawyers, engineers. They can do anything they put their minds to. I'm not questioning that. I believe that every woman should have skills. So if she does not have a man, she can be able to apply them. I think that every woman should be able to operate independently of a man. I think that every woman should be able to stand on her own 2 feet. I don't support anything. I don't support DV, domestic violence. I don't support violence against women. I don't support any of these things. But just because I talk about female nature and society, this is what I get. Crimson Strobe. Yes, you need to go to jail. I've just banned them. I went ahead and banned them, but I wanted you guys to see it. I wanted you guys to see it because it's a perfect example of how these people think. They want to keep men stupid and ignorant. You don't see people like Crimson talking out against men watching adult content all the time, spending all their time on Only Fools, all right? Paying for this garbage, all right? You don't see them talking about it because they want men to sit around being fat, lazy, stupid, depressed, and demoralized. They want weak men. And then they get furious when men don't protect them. Like, let me ask you a question. If you had a bunch of guys that were like Destiny out there, y'all think that Destiny would go and confront some dude that was going after a woman? Destiny? These weak ass dudes, they would run for the hill. And women know it. You see, women, they want men that still have that so-called toxic masculinity to provide and protect them. But then they expect them to all be like Destiny. They need to be conservative, but they also need to be progressive. And it doesn't go both ways. Shout out to Dr. MGTOW. What's going on? What's going on? He's a shark, man. Oh, gosh. Zetapal just dropped another 5. Thanks, bro. Another 5 super. He says, I'm starting a new movement. Men rapture away. Get on board. Jesus is coming back soon. Guys, it's crazy. It's sad and it's pathetic. You know? I like this comment from Theo. He says, angry. Crimson's mindset shows her misandry. All of these women are filled with downright hatred towards men. They hate us. They absolutely hate us. And they have so many channels on YouTube and on TikTok where they spread their hatred. Spread their hatred. And what do these platforms do? They promote them. They promote them. They promote these people and they allow them to operate. But if men ever said the kinds of things that these women are saying, they wouldn't have it. They would be immediately removed from the platform. It's just shocking and infuriating. But this is the reality of things right now. Absolutely is.
like this, right? Because the men are just as afraid of men as women are. But the gag is, a man who will enact this kind of violence upon a woman is normally too much of a bitch to do the same thing to a man. A few well-placed amen chill from other men is oftentimes more than enough to stop the situation in its tracks. But these men ain't even do that. They stood there in silence. Didn't even call 911.
Weakest link.
Just like mama, these women on the internet.
It's like, it's so crazy. You're here attacking these men. They're here attacking these men, shaming these men over something that did not even happen. And they know it didn't happen, and they're offering no apologies. And they think that men are still going to protect them and provide for them and be there for them and advocate for them. Like, what is in your delusional head? And they cannot accept that they are losing access to these men. The only guys that are chasing them are simps. You know, guys, I made a poll. Earlier, and I basically asked, I asked people to vote. I said a man should prioritize his children over a woman. And most people agreed with me. Over 80%, it was like, last time I checked, it was like somewhere between 84 and 86% of people who agreed with me and said that's absolutely right. But there was a small minority who disagreed. And not only did they disagree with me, but they were very local, very, very, very vocal. Because it's always the minority who is extremely vocal. And it's the minority who ends up oppressing the majority. Because the majority are mostly decent people, while the minority are a bunch of radical lunatics. And I had the minority on this poll basically saying things like, you put your wife first. If it's your wife, you put her first. You prioritize her wife. You prioritize your wife. And the poll didn't say that you should disrespect your wife. It didn't say that you should disrespect the woman you're in a relationship with. It did not say that you should not provide for her or protect her or make her a priority in your life. It simply said that your children should be your priority. Your children cannot provide for themselves. Your wife or your girlfriend or your whatever, your partner, is an adult. All right? They are an adult. They're a biological adult. A child cannot take care of themselves. They need guidance and they need protection. So the priority is always the child. And here's the thing. Your wife may not always be your wife, but your children will always be your children. That's something that can never be changed. No one can ever take that away from you. Your wife may not always be your wife. Your girlfriend may not always be your girlfriend. Guys get married and they think that this thing is forever until she leaves him. A woman may not always be with you, but your children will always be a part of you. And there are so many guys that view their kids kind of like puppies, like you can just give them away and move on. Zetapal just dropped another 5. Thank you very much, bro, for that. He said, I took the money I saved from dating and built a flight simulator. Yay. Good job, bro. Good job. I mean, guys, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money, and it's a waste of investment. Men should not be investing in Western women anymore. And like I said, passport bros don't hate women. They're going overseas, many of them, to find good women, and they are taking really good care of them. They're forming homes with them. They're having children with them. They're giving them great and wonderful lives. And Western women resent the men for it. Western women resent men because they don't have enough money to make them happy. Because a Western woman doesn't cook, doesn't clean, can't provide for themselves, and think that they all deserve millionaires or billionaires. There are a lot of women who see Kim Kardashian on television and they think to themselves, well, F this. I know I have a better body than Kim. I know I look better than Kim. I am younger. I am more attractive. Because every girl is competing with every other girl. Even though they're like, oh, you're a perfect 10, you're a perfect 10. But they all feel like they're better. So you have a lot of women out there that look at Kim Kardashian. They're like, Kim Kardashian ain't nothing. Because if that's what Kim has, I deserve more. I deserve even better. All right? They deserve better than Kanye West. They deserve more than Kim Kardashian. If Kim is a billionaire worth $3 billion, then in their delusional heads, they should be worth $10 billion. This is the reality that we live in. They are not down to earth. They think that they deserve. Guys, I told y'all, you're going to hear women saying they want trillionaires soon. The moment Elon, before, I think I saw a video already, some women saying that women deserve trillionaires. But the moment Elon hits trillionaire, and that they're saying that it may happen as soon as 2025, you're going to have women going out there saying, I want a trillionaire. And people are going to say, well, there's only one trillionaire in the world. And they're like, that's good odds. Those are good odds. There was this girl. I told you all about this. I used to have this chick that used to help me out sometimes. And she was really bad at her job. But I still kept hiring her because I kept on believing in her. You know? She used to do administrative stuff for me, help out with stuff like social media and other things that I'd pay her. And she lived in Africa. She was from Nigeria, right? I had posted a project. I was looking for some people to help out. And she was one of the people who showed up. And I basically shunned her when I first met her. And I basically told her that I didn't have anything for her. And I kept shoving her away, but she kept on showing up. And I came to respect that about her. And eventually I said, okay, you know what? I'll find work for you. Because I was impressed with her work ethic. But the more I got to know this girl, the worse she became. This is a girl who, all the money that I paid her, and there were times when I paid her more than I should have, way more than I should have. There was one point where I paid her a ton of money, and she had put the money in her bank account. This is true because I know it's true because there was a friend of hers that she had connected me to because I needed someone to do voiceover work for videos. And he confirmed to me that it was true because he couldn't get in touch with her. All the money that I paid her, she put it in the bank. And some guys in Nigeria, because she lives in Nigeria, held her up, had her go to the bank and withdraw every single dime and hand it over. This was in Nigeria back in 2020. She told me she was sleeping in a church at one point because where she lived, she got chased out. She was chased out by the other person living there. They chased her out and she was living in a church. Living in a church, sleeping in a church. Did not have a functional cell phone. Okay? She's been like this for years, where she has not had a proper cell phone for years now, always using broken crap or something that's not even hers. Like she's lived hand to mouth, which is amazing because she's a big girl. So she's overweight. And I wouldn't say that I would never use the word ugly, but she's not the prettiest girl in the world. And now she's in her late 20s. And she comes back to me asking me if I have some work, if I can help her get into another country, if I can help her out. Right? And I basically said to her, what? And she said that she said some nonsense like she's looking for a man. Like, I don't know what she thought she was going to do for me. I basically told her there are only two things you could ever do for me: labor and recreational use. All right? There are only two things I could get out of her: labor and recreational use. And I don't really think she'd be good at either of those. And she goes, "Oh no, I'm looking for a man who's like, I want a man who's 6'3" minimum, and he's going to be thick, so basically muscular, and he's got to, he has to have money to provide for her, and he has to have all these qualities, and that's the bare minimum." And I said to her, "And what do you have to offer him?" And she goes, "I'm ambitious, I'm intelligent, and all these other things." And she doesn't list off anything whatsoever that she has to offer a man other than her self-inflated ego. Right? She aspires to be a boss babe. And I had to just check her right then and there. And I said, "Listen up, sis. You are overweight. Okay? You're a big girl. You are almost 30 years old. You don't clean, you don't cook. All right? You are not fit. You are not feminine. You are not friendly. You are post-wall. What do you have to actually offer a man? Nothing." She said to me, she will get exactly what she wants. I said to her, "Do you understand that the kind of man you're looking for is very, very rare?" For example, in the US, only 14% of the population is 6 foot or taller. 14%. And now control for a guy that is above 6 feet, that is muscular, right? And I think she said she wanted a black man too. Okay, so he has to be black, he has to be muscular, he has to be above 6 feet, he has to have a lot of money. Like, do you understand, sis? Now that now you're going down into like the 5%, and she's literally like, "Those are good odds, and I'll get exactly what I want." Bro, you are living in poverty. Her father had passed away back in 2021. Peace out to Dr. MGTOW. He says, "Gotta go to work." Peace out, bro. Her father had passed away in 2021. He had a bunch of health issues. Her mother, I believe, is in her 70s. Her mother is old. All right? Her mother was trying to help her, but she said that it's really her. She should be helping her mother. Her mother's an old woman. And she is there refusing to settle, thinking that she somehow deserves a man that is wealthy, tall, thick, has all these insane qualities and characteristics, and he's supposed to desire her. Like, talk about delusion, brothers. Talk about delusion, the absolute delusion that we are seeing with these modern women. And they cannot control themselves. They have no self-control whatsoever. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. I don't know. And you say to yourself, when will it end? And the answer that many of us don't want to really accept is that it never really will end. It's never really going to end. They'll keep on doing it over and over and over again because no one's correcting them and no one's trying to stop them. Guys, we will be back in 5 minutes. We're going to take a 5-minute break. So if you need to go and take a pee or a poop or grab a drink or a beer, whatever it is, because, I care. All right? You'll have 5 minutes to go and do that. I'm going to put on the timer, and you can go and do what you have to do, and we will meet back here in 5 minutes. And we are back. You like that? Like that smooth transition? I mean, guys, it's no wonder that men no longer have respect for women in modern day society. It's not to say that men don't have respect for women, but modern day women have no respect for men. It's sad, it's pathetic, but this is the way that things are right now.
Internet was shooting first and ask questions later. No need to fact check. No need to hold that lying brickhead accountable. No need to make sense of it all. Just blast with your feelings so you can feel better about yourself.
If Bud was around the corner fight, somebody gonna come and tell me. I go around there and get him, snatch him up, and bring him home.
And
he know what time it was.
he got whooping.
He sure did.
What kind of whooping?
An ass whooping with a belt.
The men these women complain about are a product of their own parenting style.
You kept telling him, "Oh, you're never going to amount to anything." Did you really believe it?
Some things that I said to him, I wanted him to be a man. Don't be afraid of nobody.
That's a hard lesson to learn. You're 12, 13.
Yeah, but he had to learn it.
How'd that make you feel?
It filled me with rage. And every time I stepped foot in the ring or anything that I ever did, I just wanted to win so bad so I can prove a point to her.
Only men can turn boys into men, and women refuse to give their sons the necessary father figures to raise them into the men they need to become. This is embarrassing. You don't invest in your boys but have the biggest mouth when they don't amount to anything. You're the first ones to run your freaking mouths and say that men ain't shit, but you're the ones raising them. The foolishness.
I mean, guys, look at that title. I complain. Guys, look at the title. Many of America's black youth cannot read or do math, and that imperils us all. Guys, they can't read, they can't write, because if you read, you need to write. If you want to write, you need to know how to read. They can't read, they can't write, they can't do math. Do you see the reason why I am so furious right now? This is a terrible group of people. All right? It's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
All the statistics prove that you're doing a terrible job. Where is the outrage? Where is the GoFundMe page for your boys? You know boys become men, right? You fools.
So I become a father. I'm doing all the things a father does, or what I think a father does. I'm making shit up as I go. Just making things up badly, by the way. And look how the fuck it turned out, Bob. All because of some decision you made over 30 years ago.
I tried my best. That's all I could do.
But y'all are trying to villainize this black woman by digging up old videos where she says black women protect everyone while black men only protect what's theirs. You proved her point.
What's interesting about this situation is that she has done this a couple of times before. This means she's onto something. She's onto something that a lot of women take advantage of.
You know what's frightening? There's a comment here from Nudie. I'll just say Nudie Lowell, and he says Gen Z is the doomed generation. Can't make this stuff up. You know what's terrible? There are a lot of people who are like, oh, they said that about Gen X, and Gen X turned out just fine. Gen X could read and write. Gen X can add and subtract. Where did we get? Who invented social media? Social media is the invention of Gen X and older millennials. Where did we get search engines from? Who created Yahoo? Gen X. Who created Google? Gen X. Much of the technology that we enjoy today came from Gen X and the oldest of the millennials. Okay? Who are the people who know how to operate things today in society? Gen X. I don't know what anyone is talking about, because they call Gen X a doomed generation. But the thing is, they absolutely weren't. Gen Z, on the other hand, is truly a doomed generation that will doom us all. They are putting us all at risk because they don't have the basic skills to survive. And they have no interest in any of this. So what does that mean? That means that we will have to carry them on our backs, and they will rob us and steal from us because they are little crooks. Guys, do you remember back when all of us knew how to do cursive? Even if you weren't very good at it, we all knew how to sign our names. Gen X, not only can Gen Z not do cursive anymore, they can't even read it. Calvin points out they can't read cursive writing. Dude, they can't read cursive. Forget about signing, they can't even read it. Do you know why cursive is important? If for one simple thing, having a unique signature, Gen Z now just prints their names. All right? They can't sign a contract. But don't worry, the courts will say it doesn't matter because that print is still unique. Ninja says Generation Z is Generation Zombie. Truth. Absolute. And oh, hell yeah. Chisoxa says they'll probably drain our Social Security. Social Security is going to run out come 2033. And Gen Z, they're going to drain it because a lot of them are already filing for SSDI, Social Security Disability. And and here's the interesting thing about that. You can collect, some people can collect straight up Social Security, depending on who they are and like certain things. Gen Z, they will file for Social Security and they will collect Social Security. They'll file for it and they'll get it because they, all right. Basically, if you can prove that you're essentially functionally retarded, they'll let you go and collect that social. And Gen Z can't read, can't write, can't do math. All right. So their IQ, basically, their skill set is very similar to someone who has an extreme learning disability. And the word retarded is not a good word, but it's a legitimate thing. All right. And so Gen Z can't perform. All right. They also have terrible social skills. They can't take care of themselves. They don't use deodorant. They don't wash. Okay. So Gen Z, they're not fully functional adults. Forget about raising children. They can't even raise themselves. They can't even take care. Gen X actually raised themselves. Gen Z can't even take care of themselves. All right. They really need mom and dad to take care. Like mom needs to, Gen Z needs to have someone wash their ass for them because Gen Z can't do it on their own. All right. Like they really are the doomers. Just like the boomers were doomers, Gen Z are doomers. That's why they call them the zoomers. Nudie says, good luck getting retirement. That's going to be history too. What the boomers are really trying to do right now is they don't give a damn about the fact that Social Security, the funds are depleted. They just want to make sure that they can take as much from the younger generations as much as they can take, so that so their needs are met. So basically, they want the younger generation to pay for them because they had no problems when the Congress, the people that they elected, were emptying out the Social Security funds, pillaging it to pay for the programs and all the other crap that they wanted. Because let's make it very clear, it wasn't simply Congress that used Social Security as a piggy bank. It was the boomers. They elected these people, and they were perfectly fine with these people pillaging those funds that needed to be paid back. All right? And the truth is, there's really no consequence if they don't pay them back. Oh, the Social Security fund went bust. Too bad. It was technically, we charged you as a tax, and we gave you a promise and we broke that promise. Doesn't matter. We're the government. We can do whatever we want. All right? And it's like Social Security is just one big Ponzi scheme. To be honest, life is one big Ponzi scheme, but Social Security is the most clear Ponzi scheme ever. Someone actually sued. I read about this. Someone actually filed a lawsuit saying that Social Security was a Ponzi scheme, and the judge ruled that Social Security was not a Ponzi scheme because Ponzi schemes are voluntary. Social Security is not voluntary, and Ponzi schemes take outside money while Social Security takes money from everyone. Guys, that was the stupid argument that the judge made. Social Security is a non-voluntary Ponzi scheme. It is the worst Ponzi scheme possibly in the history of the world. All right? Think about it very carefully. It is a non-voluntary Ponzi scheme that everyone has to pay into. And it's been pillaged to the point that there is now almost nothing left in it. And it will run out. And the boomers don't care because guess what? They just want they want their kids and their grandkids to pay and keep on paying for their retirement because they say they paid into it, but really they were fine as those funds were being used for everything else, and now they want future generations to subsidize the next 20 or 30 years that they have on this planet, because they're not going away overnight. I want you guys to remember that millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, every generation from the millennials will have shorter lives than their parents. All right? Every generation, all right, after the millennials, after Gen X, basically, all right, every generation, their children and after, will have shorter lives than them. What does that really tell you? It's just one big scheme. I've got these spammers in. I've got these spammers in the chat. Can't stand them.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2023 U.S. Open Women's Singles Champion, Coco Gauff.
Back in 2016, 5 of the game's best players filed a wage discrimination complaint with the EEOC, catapulting the team as champions for equal pay rights.
Johnny Depp is throwing himself back into work after his estranged wife, Amber Heard, accused him of domestic violence.
What all these clips have in common is money. And if you study female nature, that shouldn't be a surprise to you. Women want resources. Miss Coco Puff won $3 million and emerged victorious in the women's single tennis event at the US Open, triumphing in a best of 3 sets format. You know who also won $3 million? Djokovic. But Djokovic had to play a best of 5 sets format. Where are all the chants saying equal sets? Equal sets. Nobody gives a shit. But women, this woman in particular, handing out the trophy, Billie Jean, wanted equal pay. But you don't hear her say anything about equal sets. You don't hear Coco Puff say anything about equal sets. But she will happily take that money. Women are onto something. Look at all of this money. They know throwing men under the bus can make them a fortune.
Guys, there was a GoFundMe scheme a number of years ago. Oh, Calvin said, "Angry, give me a wrench and I'll deal with them." Bro, I beat you to it. I literally beat you to it. Like I literally was like, I literally handed you the wrench. I handed Nudie the wrench. I handed who else did I handed someone, I think I handed Zetapal the wrench. Yeah, I handed out the wrench. So you guys have the wrench now. You guys know what to do with the wrench. Just, please be heavy-handed. If you have it, please be heavy-handed. It's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. So just, let that guide you. Let that guide you in moderating.
Because they will have the support from other women, simps, and the government. This brings me to the chameleon and ex-wife of Tyrese Gibson.
So I don't know who she is. I don't know who she became. I realized that this was a woman that was very simple, who I met in a $12 sundress and prided herself on being simple. And I don't care about money, stars, celebrities. I don't need to live and be around. I'm a simple girl. Now you want $20,000 a month for a 1-year-old? Now you've hired 3 law firms to try and knock my head off. My prenuptial agreement was so detailed and so extensive. My lawyer whispered, she had her own lawyer to negotiate on her behalf. My lawyer, Tanya Mitchell Graham, said to me, "I can't believe you got her to sign this." And I said, well, the reason I got her to sign it is because she said to me specifically, "This ain't mine. That's your publishing. Those are your cars. It's your house. And if we ever separated because I didn't get in this for any of that, I will sign every piece of paperwork that reflects that I don't want none of that." To then want nothing more than to show a that's all she wants.
But the prenup should be ironclad, right?
Right.
They are doing everything it takes to crack them up.
Here's something very interesting for you guys. So, one of the founders of Google, Sergey Brin, he married a woman who's Brazilian, right? I don't think she was in Brazil when he met her. She's probably in the US. But she's of Brazilian descent. And, of course, he had her sign an ironclad prenup. What ends up happening? Well, they're getting a divorce. And she is demanding in court. Check this out. She's demanding that she receive $1 billion. He's only been married to her for a number of years. All right. She's his second wife. Married her with an ironclad prenup. She's demanding $1 billion. Her argument is that $1 billion is only a small amount of money for him because the guy is worth right around $100 million. Last I checked, it was like a little under, but it may be about 100 on the dot or a little over now. He's worth roughly $100 million. And she's arguing that $100 million is really just $1 billion is really just he's worth $100 billion. So she's arguing that $1 billion is really just 1% of his net worth. All right. Yes, billion. Chiak says billion. Yeah, billion. He's worth $100 billion. The founder, because there were two founders of Google. All right. And the guy that's going through this right now, he's worth roughly about $100 billion. All right. And she's arguing that that's roughly only about 1% of his net worth. So that's only a small amount of money for him. So she should be given that. And her argument against the prenup is that she was pregnant when she got married. So, and when she signed the prenup, she was pregnant. So she only signed the prenup because she thought that he would end the wedding. He would cancel the wedding. So hence, she was in duress. And that's all a woman has to do is prove that she was under duress when signing a contract, when signing a prenup. And basically that's her argument. What's one example of duress? If she felt that she had to do it, or else, for example, he would cancel the wedding. That's a simple part. And that's all she has to literally prove. That she was afraid he would cancel the wedding if she didn't sign the prenup. And they will break the prenup. They will break the prenup. And when they break the prenup, now she can go after him for even more than $1 billion. She can go after him for a couple $1 billion. There was a story a number of years ago. Yeah, Zetapal says, good argument, she will win. She will absolutely win. All right? It's the perfect definition. And she knew exactly what she was doing. And this woman that married Tyrese, she knew what she was doing as well, because they know that they have no business being with these men. And they know that these men will say no to them. So what they do is they'll say anything to get these guys to marry them, because they don't want these guys to walk away. And they know that prenups can be broken. So all they have, guys, I said this before. I said this for years. A woman is she's planning her divorce before she plans her wedding. She's planning the exit before she even figures out the entrance. All right? She's thinking about how she's going to get out of the marriage before she even gets into the marriage. Okay? She already knows what divorce attorney she's going to use before she even enters into the relationship. This is the mindset. Because this is how, guys, like I said, plan B. A plan B guy, a lot of y'all aren't plan B guys. You think you're plan B guys. You're plan C guys. A lot of y'all are plan C guys. You're plan come up guys. Plan B guys are the guys that these women are going to use to set them up for life so they will never have to work again. All right? Like, they'll destroy your life. If you're a Plan C guy, they'll use you as a come up, and they'll take whatever they can get out of you. But again, you're just a come up to them, because that's not enough money for them to live on comfortably for the rest of their lives. All right? No, they're looking for millionaires. That's the Plan B guy. Guys that are very high income. Those are the Plan B guys. Guys with high net worths. Those are the Plan B guys, because they want to use those guys so that they never have to work again. All right? They never have to worry about anything again, because when they mess up those guys, when they take them to divorce court, they're going to clean them really well. They're going to get that lifetime alimony. They're going to have them on child support for the next 20 years, paying 50, 60, 70, 100,000, 200,000, depending on how wealthy these men, $1 billion in child support and spousal support. And they're going to get away with it. And no one's going to stop them. The brick lady, guys, if it was a man who ran this scam, he would be in jail right now. All right? If it was a man who had ran this type of scam, GoFundMe would have refunded everyone who was taken advantage of in the scam, and the man responsible for the scam would be charged, and he'd be headed to jail for maybe even a decade. This has already happened. This has already happened with men who've run scams on GoFundMe with women, and the men were given terribly harsh sentences compared to the women. And this woman has been running these scams for years. She is a Somalian immigrant. She's been running these scams for years. She scammed over $40,000 out of these women, and these women are still coming to her defense because it does not matter.
And it's now 3 years into trying to crack. Yeah, she's trying to crack the prenup, trying to get $20,000 a month for a 1-year-old, which is my daughter is now 4. And so I have no idea who this person is.
This woman is doing a great job telling men what they want to hear while throwing her ex-husband under the bus. For what? Money. She signed the prenup knowing that prenups are thrown out in court, and she will lie to get what she wants and use their child as leverage. Just like Brickface and many other women that are.
Guys, for example, I have a Password Bro package coming out for you that's going to teach you everything you need to know. I mean, how to stay safe. There's so much valuable information in there. And part of it is literally basically, it concerns marriage. For example, if you go over to the Philippines, a lot of you guys don't know this. This is why you're going to need to purchase this package. All right? Because it could be the meaning between life and death. A lot of y'all don't know this. If you go over to the Philippines and you move a Filipina into your home, you begin living with her, you could be arrested. If you break up with her, you can be arrested and thrown in jail on the basis of abandoning her and leaving her in poverty. It's an insane law. But once you begin financially taking care of a Filipina in the Philippines, they will charge you with a crime if you leave her, if you separate from her, if you let a Filipina live with you and you begin providing financial support to her, even though you are not married to her, just by living with her, the courts will charge you with a crime, which is another one of the most important reasons why you do not cohabitate with the Filipina. You do not allow her to live there. Don't let her move her things in. She is always a guest in your house. All right? And that's if you choose to get a Filipina, because there are many other countries in Asia. Laos, there's some really beautiful women in Asia. In Laos, for example. Vietnam, really, you shouldn't be settling. And there's a lot of different islands in the Philippines. All right. Really, what you're going to do is you're going to sell these girls a dream and you're going to get up out of there. All right. And you never give them you don't give them your name. You don't give them your phone number. You always keep a burner phone. And in these countries, a phone is very cheap. When I lived in Mexico, you can have a phone for $10 a month, maybe even $110 a month, for $10 a month, or maybe even $5 a month with data. All right. And you use that as a burner. You get yourself a cheap burner phone. All right. And you pay $10 a month for service. And you're going to use that. And you're going to give that number out. That's the number you're going to give out. You're not going to give them if a girl's like, oh, let me see your ID. Let me see what your driver's license from America looks like. Do never show her that. You know what she's really what she's really trying to do? She's trying to figure out, she's trying to get your personal information. All right? She is memorizing your full name. She's memorizing your full name. She's memorizing your address. She's memorizing your ID number. All right? They have memory tricks that they use to memorize that long number. All right? She will memorize the entire. No, she'll memorize your full name, your full name, the ID number on there, your home address, the address that you have on there, because she knows that the next step is to get pregnant. All right, and then she can have you on the hook for the next 20, 30 years, for the next 20 years, and that's a lot of money over in the Philippines. So you're paying child support. You paying $300 a month in child support. Guys, $300 a month is a lot of money in the Philippines. It's a ton of money in the Philippines. And these women, once they have you over there, they'll have you, not only do they have you paying child support, they have you, they literally have you paying for private school and all kinds of other stuff. I hear stories about guys paying $800 a month in child support in the Philippines. Guys, $800 a month. Are you crazy? For $800 a month, guys. For just $200, guys, for less than $200 a month, you can have a beautiful house in the Philippines. $800 a month. She has a giant house the size of maybe a mansion. I'm not messing with you. All right? Listen to me. She's getting her nails done. She's getting everything. Food, everything. You are paying her bills. You are literally paying for her. Not only are you paying her bills, you are also providing for her family. So you have to know what you're doing. Calvin says it's 50 to $1 US. All right. So I have that package coming out for you. All right. I'm setting up an academy for you, a Passport Bro Academy, where you're going to be able to go and learn, because you need to know what dangers are over there. It's not all good. A lot of y'all don't need to go over there and get married. A lot of these men that have been doing this for decades, they didn't get married. They did not get married. You want a girlfriend over there? Sell her a dream. Sell her a dream, and that's it. Just like the baby boomers sold millennials a dream and had them go and get a bunch of degrees that they never would actually be able to use to make a livable wage, because they're so deep in student loan debt. I'm one of the oldest millennials. I've been carrying student loan debt for 22 years. What? Wait a minute. Am I right? Is it 22 years? Yeah. I've been carrying student loan debt for 22 years, guys. 22. I want you to think about that. The oldest Gen Zer is 26 years old this year. All right? I've been carrying student loan debt for 22 years. And there are a lot of people who've been carrying student loan debt for much longer than I have. We're talking about 30 years, maybe even 40 years. 40 years of student loan debt. All right? So this stuff is not a joke. And Calvin says something very important. If you do get married, don't bring her back stateside. Guys, you have a lot of these dudes and they want to come and fight you and say stuff to you like, oh, you're this and you're that. No, listen to it. And they're like, look, I brought my wife back and we've been together all these years and everything's been good. Yeah, there's a lot of dudes who do that and maybe they're okay. There's also a lot of dudes who've done that. And as soon as they come to America, they get used to that American life and they turn around and say that you are that you're nothing because they get caught up. They get caught up. They become indoctrinated. Because in their country, it's a whole different world. They come to America and the poison starts to seep into them. And then they go and leave their husbands and start running wild, but they're going to want you to subsidize them for the rest of their life too. That's absolute madness. Zeta Pal says, glad I learned to jerk off. Oh my gosh. You know, guys, it's true what they say, laughter is good for the heart.
Divorce graping men on a daily basis. I'm very curious how this court case turns out, because if Tyrese's prenuptial agreement holds up, he needs to send us a copy. But this is a major reason why women do not apologize or hold other women accountable for their shenanigans, because they are all in the same plot. They don't want anything to change. They love the fact that they can get away with murder. It's the supremacy they want. F equality, F accountability. Just blame it all on men. And men pick up on this and develop an indifference towards women.
Because men got on the internet and said exactly that. Well, if it's my wife, then you know I'll step up, but I ain't doing it for no woman I don't know. You proved her point. Because back in Alabama, no one had a problem stepping in for that black man, as they should have. But when it's a black woman, I ain't risking my life for no stranger.
Modern women have a twisted idea of how protection works, especially in this context where brothers choose not to protect a sister, yet step in to protect another brother. So we use one of our favorite people to study as an example to make our point.
I don't give a what you talking about.
Champ.
Bat me in my then.
It's all good.
Bat me in my then.
Come on.
They shut the up.
If this guy had punched her in the face, would you have protected her? Brittany Renner was literally provoking him to do it. She caused this situation herself, and look how she handles it. Let's take it a step further.
Yeah, there was a time where my son was maybe like a few weeks old and I was about to change him and he's just helplessly like kicking his arms and his legs, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been the biggest man hater. You know, I have been a loud and proud man hater on social media, and when I saw my son in this vulnerable state, I'm like, this is where all men start. Like this cute little innocent baby. So it really made me look at men a lot differently, and because of having a baby and having a son specifically, it made me like also look at the men that I have wronged in my life. Like I've given a few apologies since my son was born, you know, so yeah, seeing a baby like that and like I said, a baby boy, it just makes you look at men a lot differently.
It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently.
What this tells you is that most women don't even view men as human beings. They just view them as ATMs from which they want their attention, their time, and their money. So they just want your utility, and that's it. Myron from Fresh and Fit basically said it good. Modern women today, all they want is their bag. All right? All they're doing is trying to get their bag, and that's it. And, you know, I see this comment from Ed Nudie. From Nudie, he says, she's a proud man hater. She just said it. She literally just said it. And you know what's funny? I had a video that I posted on her, and hopefully I don't have any issues with this one. They basically forced me to take my video down because that interview she did was so bad that it has to be marked as, it's literally flagged as adult when you try to view it on YouTube. Like, that's how bad the Brittany Renner interview was. Like, she went so wild in that. Just her speaking. Like, YouTube is literally just, it's like literally flagging videos where she's just speaking now. Because she is that bad. It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting hearing the things that she said. Absolutely disgusting. And she thinks that that's the only men that are going to mess with this woman now are low value men. You have to be a real low value man to go and mess around with Brittany Renner. Like, you have to be the lowest of low value men. And when you see these celebrities messing around with someone like her, they're low value men. Just having money doesn't make you a high value man. Because there's a lot of rappers who have tons of money. These are low value men. These are prisoners, guys who are in and out of prison, can barely read or write, committing crimes. All right? Disgusting human beings. These are not irresponsible as hell. And women like try to act like these are high value men. These are not high value men. These are low value men. You have these dudes in the NBA messing around with people like Brittany Renner. Just because you have a ton of money, just because you got lucky and you made it to the NBA, I'll give you credit. You worked hard and you made it to the NBA. That doesn't make you a high value man. All the money in the world cannot buy class. If you're out there in the streets with these types of people, you're a low value person. A truly high value man holds himself to higher standards. So he won't be out there with a woman like Brittany Renner. The only thing someone like Brittany Renner is going to end up being is it's basically recreational use only. But Brittany has basically surpassed that, where no decent man would want to be with Brittany. Not even for recreational use. Because she has gone off the absolute deep end. Men just can't do it anymore. Men can't roll with her. Like, it was disgusting, the things that she was saying in that interview. Absolutely disgusting.
Brittany Renner doesn't think, at least not long term. She's been hating on men, and she was not alone. Oprah Winfrey has been a big contributor too. And just like we explained in the first chapter, mothers pass this behavior down to their daughters. Brittany Renner is a mother, and look how she disrespects her son for the whole world to see. Women, black women in particular, do not have the best reputation and do not have the best interest of their children at heart.
Look at what she did to Charleston White. It was absolutely disgusting. This is a man who is married. He has his wife, and he has his partner. So yes, he has two different women, but they both know about each other. They're everybody's happy. All right, it's a stable thing. That's his arrangement, and I respect that. And what did Brittany Renner go and do? She went and got on top of him, and this man was clearly not into it. And you know what it is? You know what it is? You know why women do these things? The reason why women do these things is when they can't beat you, they defile you. And what Brittany did to Charleston White, she wanted to defile him. All right? She wanted to defile him as a man. And it was a shocking thing that I saw and I witnessed and I understood it immediately. Because this is a guy who's always calling out blacks in the black community. All right? Talking about the issues that they're facing. About the epidemic of fatherlessness. All right? And what did Brittany do? This is an intelligent dude. All right? He can stand up to her. He can use his words. He can outwit her intellectually. So what does she do? She does what she does best. She uses her body. All right? Her sexuality. And she defiles him as a man. And so it's just, and she does this in front of other women. So she knows that he's a married man. And yes, he has his woman on the side. He has his wife. He has a girlfriend. That's none of her business. All right. And she went and put herself on this man and defiled him because she wanted to do this. She wanted other men to see it, and she wanted other women to see it. Like, yeah, look what I did to him. I made him dirty now. He's dirty now. All right. So you can't say that if you talk bad about me, look what I did to him. You know? It's like when someone goes and they damage property or they do something, because that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to defile him as a man, degrade him as a man, and that's exactly what she went and did. And if a man did something like that, he would be in handcuffs. The cops would have come and got him. For even less, for much less. Much less. Look at this guy who kissed this chick at like a soccer game, and he lost his job, and they were all up in arms and everything. Look what this woman literally did to this poor man. And women are nowhere to be found. They are silent.
Brickface is also a single mother.
I'm a women independent. Throw your hands up at me. And when I think of that, is because I feel like once women get to their 40s, and they're still dating, they're definitely independent.
Black women embraced the strong and independent woman trope, and they did not think about the consequences of the I don't need no man mentality.
Do you know that it's our job to take care of a woman and some children, to have a family? That's our damn job.
But what happens to when the woman tell you, I don't need a man, Steve?
Well, they need to, what? Okay, if you don't, how that's working?
Yes. So when my generation arrived in college, I arrived in 1964 in college, and the colleges still believed they had the right and obligation to act in loco parentis, in place of the parent. Therefore, the women's dormitories, women were compelled to sign in at 11 o'clock at night, so we were safely inside. The men could run free, for the whole night. We're the ones who said, get out of our private lives. And the colleges said, no, the world is dangerous. We must protect you against. And what my generation said, was, give us the freedom to risk. That is true adulthood, okay, for women. And now everything has regressed. And I do believe it's because nothing has really happened, okay, to this generation. They have not had that initial experience that my generation did of war than right now. They see a comfortable world around them, the world of the shopping malls, a world of material prosperity, and they believe that by any problems in the environment can be remedied by just a little music.
Guys, think about it very carefully. If the boomers, literally put us into, WW3, because that's where we're headed right now with this whole Ukraine thing, right? Because if you notice, Russia literally met with North Korea, and North Korea has a pact with China. So if the United States goes to war against North Korea, then China immediately has to step in. So that America would literally be fighting China. Guys, just imagine this. That's a new world war. That's an entirely new world war. And then Russia also has a pact with Iran and some African countries. So we'd literally have an entire war break out all over the world. Right? And what do you think Gen Z would do? Gen Z has made it very clear they are not going to fight. And first off, 74% of all Gen Zers, all right, 74% of all Gen Z males are unfit to serve. They were found unfit to serve by the U.S. military before they even finished high school. Okay? The U.S. military released data saying that 74% of Gen Z males are unfit to serve in any branch of the military before they even finish high school. And the reasons are because of either obesity, so they're either physically unfit, mentally unfit, they're unfit because of substance abuse, or a variety of other reasons as well. They cannot serve. Most of them cannot serve. 3/4 of Gen Z cannot serve. And sadly, to any Gen Zers listening right now, 3/4 is about 75%. But most Gen Zers wouldn't even comprehend that because they don't understand basic math, which is another problem. Gen Z, the remaining that remaining quarter, they're not going to serve. They won't serve in the military. All right. So the ones who can serve, all right, they're not going to serve either. So Gen Z is not going to be fighting in any wars. I already told y'all that. All right. Future wars, I've said this once and I said it again. Future wars will be fought by old men. Because they cannot force these people. They can't make these people serve. Zenapal says, Gen Z army, run the clip. You can't, guys, they're unfit to serve. It doesn't, if you're in a draft and you have these people who are unfit to serve, they can't make them serve. They can try, they can force they can force older millennials to serve. They can force younger Gen Z or Gen Xers to serve. All right. They can force millennials and Gen X, but they can't make Gen Z serve because they're unfit to serve. And it looks like Biden is fighting hard to get this war off the ground because he wants to make sure that he gets, because guys, when wars break out, guys, think about this. What happened in 2020, the shutdown in 2020, all right, what we witnessed in 2020 was the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of humanity. All right, we witnessed the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of humanity. More people became billionaires than at any other time in history. So now, because they're already trying to shut things down again. But no, what they want, the next thing is, we could use another war, another world, another one that happens all around the world. All right? Because now there's going to be there's a saying, never waste a good crisis. They constantly manufacture crisis because it's during a crisis where they can move large amounts of money. I tell y'all, it's sickening.
A screwdriver, slightly tighten a screw, all right, and soon utopia, will happen. They have no sense, okay, of the special privileges they enjoy in this very affluent, culture.
Women don't understand that you can't protect those who don't want protection. I used to work as a security guard, and most of my day consisted of preventing danger from happening on the premises. That's why we needed cooperation. Modern women don't cooperate. But when shit hits the fan, they expect men to just miraculously appear like Superman and save the day. That's not the culture in modern Western society. That's not the culture women wanted. The culture women are fighting for is one of supremacy. Regardless of how disrespectful they are towards men, they still expect protection no matter what. Brickface proved our point. Protect yourself at all times. Here's
another very interesting thing that Shasok just pointed out. And it's something that I didn't even think about. Plus, if there is a war, Biden can't leave office either. That's another good point to make. Because when you're at war, then basically the president can remain in office indefinitely. Good point.
Protect strangers. Don't get involved in situations you don't understand. Don't compare Brickgate to what happened in Alabama. It's not the same. If a woman gets hit with a brick, she's out cold. There's blood everywhere and someone will call 911. Brickface is clearly a scammer. There is no police report of that incident and Brickface should be reported to the police. In many societies, the police are tasked with the primary responsibility of maintaining public safety and order, and they have a legal obligation to protect and serve the community as a whole. But men feel a moral or personal obligation to protect their loved ones, such as their wives, families, and friends. This sense of duty or responsibility is not a legal obligation, but is rooted in personal values and societal norms. Men may also extend their concern for the well-being of others beyond their immediate circle, but Keep disrespecting your men. Keep disrespecting your boys. Keep disrespecting the law of cause and effect and see the results. You think passport bros are a coincidence? You think men choosing to go their own way is a coincidence? You think men applauding the phrase, "Don't save her, she doesn't want to be saved," is a coincidence? Women are welcome to listen and learn from this video, but I'm not talking to them. Women's behavior is a result of the environment. If you want women's behavior to change, you have to change the environment.
Which is another good reason why you should never bring a woman from overseas back to your country, because that's where she'll finish you off.
Only when something catastrophic happens, women will change their ways. But you can personally change your standards. Don't get married. Don't be a simp. Don't give women free.
See, here's something interesting about this guy. What he just said, only when something catastrophic happens, women will change your ways. That's not true. The woman will never change her ways. She'll just change her tactics. All right? She will never change her ways because a woman's ego is everything. All right? They like to say men have fragile egos. No, it's women who have extremely fragile egos. And they are completely egocentric. So when something bad happens, women won't change their ways. All right? They will simply change their tactics. That's all there is to it.
Attention. Stop the foolishness. And remember, we made this channel for men. That's why we started this channel. Not because we hate women. It's because men's voices need to be heard. And men need to be educated on the foolishness that's going on, so they can protect themselves at all times. The channel is called Manosphere Highlights Daily. We highlight men's issues, female nature, and the effects of society on human beings.
I mean, guys, that's pretty much it. What do you guys think about this? You know, Nudie says Gen Z are turncoats. They will betray. They absolutely will. And that's another reason you can't have them out there on the field. Because you damn well know they wouldn't follow directions. All right? Guys, they can't read, can't write, can't do math. All right? They're a complete liability. You can't have these people. You can't. They're unfit in every possible way. Every possible way. All right? Anyway, guys, I want to hear your thoughts about this. Why are women shocked men no longer respect them? I want to hear your thoughts on this, guys. So let me know what you think in the comments. All right? And if you like the video, go ahead and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA. Man walking away. And cheers.